All right, guys, welcome back to our subscriber game here, 500 player game. Things are going well for all of us. So this is just my daily update, keeping you abreast of what's going on here. So a couple of interesting things. Um, we are almost done. We have almost claimed the entire of mainland Oz. It does look like I'm going to be capturing this last province up here. Let me go ahead and stop these and do our little fancy thing where we run in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll do the rest of this off camera, but it's what I do is I then I run in 5 4 more times, but put a delay on it. So I have this delay I can put on it, and I usually try to space them out about an hour so that it has time to deplete the 5 down to, a couple, and then the next 5 shows up. And in that way, just keep that maximum possible firepower per unit. Still streaming all my stuff up here. I went ahead and gathered everything from my entire continent and drug it up here. I do have one tank coming from the backlands. We talked about that. Here he is right here. Went ahead and started another tank from this furthest away territory because tanks are faster than cannon. So everything else is building cannon. All my other double tiles are building cannon. So I believe I've got another maybe 4 cannon building at this time from my various double resource tiles. Down here, my first coastal double tile is building a harbor. As soon as I'm done with the harbor, I can go ahead and build my first cruiser. It won't be my first cruiser. I'll tell you why in just a minute. Down here, I'm building my first factory. Then, of course, while I'm building a harbor, I will build a cannon down here because why not? Keep those production buildings running. And up here, here's why that won't be my first, is because right after I took over here, there already was a factory and a harbor. So ready-made. So I'm building my very first cruiser. Yay. And then, and to build that cruiser, I really had to sell a bunch of stuff. So you can see I'm almost out of money and really low on resources. So I won't be able to build that level 2 factory like I would prefer to, which of course would take this from 4 days down to 2 days. But you know how it works is it takes 2 days to build it. So as soon as it gets to that, it cuts your remaining 2 days in half and you can build that cruiser in only 3 days. But I won't be able to do that because I don't have the money. So something else that I really think is worth pointing out over here is Otago. So Otago is honorary brother. And I was so impressed. He has 2 cruisers attacking into Wellington here. But here's the part I loved. Look at this guy. This cannon was over here. Notice the radius of that cannon is exactly to here because this cannon was raining in from across the strait here. So I love that. I didn't even think about it, but he did. So he completely bombed this out, and now he has this force coming in here. I love this force because it does have armored cars. So as soon as he disembarks, he should detach those cars and run them forward, even though that's really only a short amount of distance here. But again, remember, the armored cars are great because, especially up here, he'll attack in from the ocean to these 2 territories. And then once they're bombed out, you run in your armored cars first because they're so fast. They're at 72 kilometers per hour as opposed to your regular guys who run, of course, your infantry run at 36. So half that speed, 36 here. But here's the benefit is while you're running to capture, you're at 1/3 speed, right? So 36, you're at 1/3 speed to 12, right? But 72, you're at 1/3 speed to 24. So again, the idea being that after this is bombed out, there's nothing there. There's actually nothing there right now. We can see there's no question mark here. And this is empty as well. So you know what? Otago, if you're watching, I would take an armored car, capture this, take the other armored car, capture this, split my infantry in half and follow behind, because here's what's happened. What happens is you run these in. Sure, they're slow. They're not 72 anymore. They're only 24, but they're still twice as fast as that infantry and certainly faster than any cannon. As soon as you capture it, though, Your infantry, who were going 12, immediately speed back up to 36. It turns this province over to you, and you immediately lose that horrible penalty of 1/3 speed. So I always run in my fast units. I'm so happy to see 2 cars getting out of the boat here, one for here, one for here. And again, those cars will race out ahead. They'll get there twice as fast. And as soon as they capture this province, then they open up the high-speed movement for all of your other units. So things are looking great for Otago. With these 2 cruisers and with the cannon, I don't see any reason why he's not going to take over this entire region and gain for himself a double coal and the coveted double oil. So good for you, man. I'm cheering for you. Again, he's not officially a member of, you can see we don't have enough slots, so he's not officially, but number 1, he's next in order. So if anybody drops out, he's next. And number 2, it doesn't matter. He's a subscriber, so he's part of our clan. So whether or not he's officially, in the actual coalition or not, he is given full rights of brotherhood. So we'll attack together, we'll help each other out, and so forth. So loving what's going on down there. Now, I do know that some big movements were happening up here. So you can see that South Borneo is sending out some sort of probing ships up here to see what's going on up here. And then he does have a lot of infantry that are coming up. So I think he's going to make a serious bid for this. Again, we are looking for these energy tiles. Energy tiles in Australia are so valuable. So South Borneo wisely is trying to make a bid for that. I think that's a great idea. I do also know that Java is coming up. So Java is reinforcing the island here. That's interesting. It was brought to my attention that the reason that Java is not taking these 2 provinces is that this is part of Siam, who is up into here, who is also part of East Asian Coalition. So that's not a hornet's nest we want to beat on quite yet. As soon as we take over mainland Oz, which we're almost done with, and then deal with Papua up here, and what is this, South Dutch Papua? Once we take these, then honestly, and Otago is continuing to take these. If anybody wants these little islands, they can. I tend to not want to waste my time on them. But if somebody wants to get, it's like you have to disembark and get on and take it, and then embark again and go to it's just, I just don't have patience for it. But somebody with a decent navy, you could bomb in with your cruisers and then just send 1 or 2 to each island and take them over. That's worth it. Point being, though, is that eventually we've got 5 guys mainland down here, and Otago, who looks like he's going to finish up over here and start to build a huge fleet, which Otago typically does. If they take over this entire island group, they become a naval power out of necessity, but not just out of necessity. It's because he has so many coastal double tiles. So he's ready to start, churning out cruisers in all of these. He's already churned out 2, and see if he's got another one building. He does, my man. Good for you, man. And then here's another double. Here's another double. He's about to have another and another and another. And I believe even one more. No, that's it. But geez, I mean, come on. What was that? 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then is there one all the way down here? No. So there's 6 coastal doubles. So each of those should have at least a level 2 factory and a harbor soon. And then he's just going to be churning out the cruisers. You can have a swarm of cruisers, and cruisers are so fast. Like I love them. I love battleships because they're like, giant fortresses of the sea. But these cruisers, man, it's hard to beat them. They go 67 kilometers per hour. So almost as fast as like a armored car or a horse on land, really just 5 kilometers less, right? They're 72. These are 6. This is 67. So they're super fast. And then, of course, I love it that they have plus 1.5 defensively against Air Force. So really, one of your big counters to a stack of bombers is a stack of cruisers. Get together 10 cruisers. That's 15 defense against air. Get together 20. That's 30 defense against air. right? Assuming 100% morale. So love me some cruisers. Otago is on it. I love our two island brothers up here who are expanding and really taking over all this stuff for us. Now we're going to have a powwow about airfields, because we need to establish a chain of airfields through these islands. So that's something that I'll do. You know, as we start to shift into more aggressive towards Asia, a lot of us are going to be starting to build some bombers. And those bombers, as I mentioned, can hop from the mainland over to South Dutch Papua's land here. And then from there, we need to organize a chain so that those bombers can fight all the way over to our friend Java's land. And from here, they will base on into South Asia, and we'll have those bombers to support us, as well as just a huge fleet. So at this point, I do believe that, pretty sure that Geraldton has, last time I quoted him as having 6, and he came on, he's like, no, I got 9. And so by now, I'm sure he probably has like 12 or maybe even more, because again, he's basing up here. He has 2 double tiles up here, 3, correct myself, 1, 2, and 3, which I think his intention was to build some air defense up here, which is always great. I like air defense. I've never had to use air defense for Australia because Australia is so isolated over here. There's just hardly anybody that's willing to cross an entire ocean to get to you, because it's such a waste of time to be in the water for that long. But that's not to say it couldn't happen. You know, some doofus could load on, 200 guys and 10 cannon and come on over with an expeditionary force, and we'd eventually defeat him, but they'd do some damage, right? So the thing I love about bombers for defense, though, they have such a huge radius. And the thing about it is, once you're ready to go ahead and shift to offense, you just island hop them over and attack the mainland. So bombers are good no matter what. Obviously, we know this. So really, there's nothing more to say here. I do want to say to my alliance mates here, to my coalition mates, we have now finished with mainland Oz. Anybody who wants to attack in, it looks like Gascoigne here is going to go ahead and attack the AI here. Let's see who he's at war with. The AI here is at war with Brisbane and Gascoigne. So here's something that I did notice. So he's still at war with Brisbane from back in the day. Brisbane is down here, right? So we made contact with him. He became one of our viewers, and then we decided to let him have that and declare peace with him. So as soon as we wipe out this AI here, Brisbane will no longer be at war. But here's something I did notice, and so I almost forgot this. Look at this. What? Who's this? Brisbane. So Brisbane is making a bit of a comeback. It looks like he must have taken just whatever few guys he had, got on the water, and made his way up here. The morale is scary low. It's really low. And I also wonder, is he at war with Papua here? He has to be. Yeah, he's at war with, and this is an AI, of course. This once was a person, but they're gone now. And it does look like, okay, it looks like Geraldton is also at war with Papua. Let's just make sure here. No. Okay, so that's not good for Brisbane here. This AI is only at war with him, and he has very limited resources. So I'm really surprised that Papua is not sending in some probes here to attack. Here's what I was kind of looking at this, and my greedy side said, why is a rare double energy tile going to a guy who essentially we thought he was just having a front row seat, and now he's taking a double energy? So some part of me was like, what? Like, that's not okay. But you know what? I really tend towards more, I don't know. I tend towards more forgiving or not butthurt type of attitude. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? if he fights his way up here and somehow survives against this AI without any mainland support, he doesn't have any support from the mainland, obviously. He might be moving. He's got 2 guys he could bring up there, right? But it'll take him forever to get up there. If he can do that, then, okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do think that double energy would be better off in the hands of one of our large coalition mates. You can see right now my energy is terrible. Minus 263 coal, minus 12 gas, and I've got my oil in the blue just because coal is cheaper right now than anything else. So I always dial my whatever's cheapest. I dial it in to be the greatest deficit in red. But I'll tell you, this double coal looks delicious, and I don't have any other. There's no other energy nearby. I'm about to take a wood. I just got through taking a double wheat, double grain. But so I'll just freely admit I kind of had a little bit of a what? Why is this guy got a double energy? But we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I mean, I think there's a good chance that he's going to get killed. But again, like, as I said, like if he somehow survives, then I'll have to reevaluate and think about it at that time. What the heck? Why not? And if he's one of us, then, maybe he'll make a resurgence here. Maybe he can take over all of Papua and maybe these little islands here and, start pumping out some cruisers and be an asset to us. So, I'm not going to judge yet. We'll just see what happens. My initial instinct was, wait a minute, that's a double energy and I want it, or some of my brothers need it, or blah, blah, blah. But then I kind of backed off and I was like, well, he's a brother too, and he came in later in the game, but he's a viewer, he's a subscriber. So we'll just kind of wait and see what happens up there. It's actually really an accomplishment that he even has those 4 territories after having been sort of completely obliterated down here. So, props to him. We'll see what happens. Other than that, really, just tell my coalition mates, now is the time. If you're in the mood to expand, go ahead and expand. I'm starting to gather my troops north in anticipation of maybe hopping up here and taking some of this stuff. If there's any energy, I haven't really even looked that closely. There's none. There's just a couple singles. Here's a double, but I'm pretty sure that who is this up here? Geraldton. Yeah, Geraldton will want to take that. I don't blame him. So yeah, the one I was eyeballing was right here. So, but I'm probably going to move my guys up since they're already kind of all on the march to the northeast here. I'll go ahead and march them up to this island and see if I can take a little bit of territory off of mainland Oz. But also, meanwhile, one of our priorities needs to be building up all of our double tiles to level 4 factories with railroads and with harbors if you're on a coastal tile. So let's spend this next few days gently expanding. Like, we've got mainland Oz, it's ours now, and let's just build up our economies, guys. Let's get our factories up and humming. Meanwhile, we can move north, start to take these islands and really turn it all blue. And then, honestly, what I anticipate is I'll probably be staging over here. I'll probably bring, by the time we're ready to move over here, I should have 300 or 400 infantry and maybe as many as 20 cannons. So I'll be staging them to here. And then it'll be time to probe up into Asia and see what's going on. So let's take a moment now. I always like to kind of see how we're doing. So let's look at the newspaper first of all and look at our coalitions. And this is the best results I've seen ever in a game. I've played several of these big 500 games. You can look at 500 Nation Army. That was fun. If you want to see big stacks of 1,500 infantry and 40 cannon moving around with big air forces, go look at that stack. You can see what it looks like late in the game. You can look at another 500, which is also a current, that's a current playlist. 500 Nation Army is over. We did lose, but it's still fun to see these huge armies. Currently, I'm playing another 500, so that's an active game right now. And I believe I've got something like maybe 1,500 infantry on the move in that game. and that's been a fun game. We're making sort of multi-coalition alliances to try to defeat a huge player over there. So you're welcome to go over there. But in this game, let's look at our coalitions. We are dominating. Look at that. We are 40 points above the second place team. And then everybody else is down there. Everybody else is sort of below us down there. This guy's 50 points behind us. So these reward points, of course, have to do with army, morale, number of territories, economic development. There's a whole bunch of things that go into it. But this is a decent way of looking at how you're doing in the game. But I do like to look at the number of territories. So let's take a look at number of territories. So let's go over to coalitions. Let's organize by how many provinces. And look at that. Look at us. We have 300 provinces, which is 122 more than the next down the list. 122 more provinces than the next down the list. And it's only getting better. And don't forget, we get to count Otago as far as I'm concerned. Otago, I believe, has probably 20 and is about to have maybe another 15 more. So, he's part of the team. So you can add another 25 to this number if you so care to do so. So we're doing great. I'm loving it. By any measure, we are the dominant coalition in the game. It doesn't look like anybody's just grossly spamming gold marks anywhere on the map, which is, if you look at another 500, there's one guy that has 800 territories, and it's like, oh, wow. I feel like if you literally sat at your computer screen and did nothing else but play 1914, there's no way you could have 800 territories. In that game, I believe I have 160 or something. And I've been playing actively in that game the whole time, and I'm expansionist, and I'm pretty, aggressive, and it's like 800? Whoa. Well, this game, it doesn't seem like anybody's doing that. It doesn't seem like anybody's abusing gold marks in this game yet. And I hope I don't eat those words, but up until now, it seems like everybody's playing pretty much straight, just straight gameplay without spamming the gold mark. So I love to see that. All right, so that's it for today. Again, I feel like we can focus on our economy. We can start to spread into these islands. As we spread, let's try not to be butthurt if somebody gets a territory ahead of us, unless it's just really blatant. I'll say, like, I've seen where boats are bombing in and finally clear out a region, and then one of their allies, one of their coalition mates comes in and snipes the territory out from under them. Well, that's not cool, so we want to try to avoid that. But overall, as we're grabbing towards the mainland here, I just want to remind you, there's lots of territories. Like, there's hundreds of territories up here. So if you don't get what you want on these islands, don't worry. We'll be moving up here, and we can just sort of see what's to be had up here. It looks like we got an oil and a coal coming up through here. I know there's a couple. Yeah, I've got this in my another 500 stack. If you want to go over there, I captured all of these and built a railroad along there to be a super highway up into Asia. So I did get this double coal. So there is energy to be had. We just need to move up into here and start grabbing it. It's here. It's for us. Here's another double coal right here. So as we move up, and then some of these guys we may form alliances with. There are multi-coalition alliances. That kind of thing happens. That certainly happened with us in that other game, another 500. There was another coalition called the Spice Enjoyers, which were two fairly powerful players, but against my coalition, they were not. They were going to go down. And so they reached out to us, and they're like, hey, we actually have this larger enemy to the west. Do you want to team up? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So who knows? Who knows what will happen here? We certainly do know that this East Asian coalition is not anywhere near. Some people have been expressing some concern about that, and I'm just like, yeah, no, really not, though. So here we are. Central Europa, Central European is behind them, and then Eastern, and then so forth, all the way down to East Asian, who has about a third of what we have in terms of territory. So not super threatening at this point, but they're doing okay. We could eventually possibly work some sort of alliance out with them, but we'll talk about that later. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you next time. Adios, mi amigos.